Hello, my name is Abigail Lanzkron, and this is my CS213 Database Management Final Project. My project is a chemical inventory system for the Mass Bay Chem Lab. Some vocabulary to keep in mind. An SDS is a safety data sheet. It is a document that a chemical company produces to provide information about the chemical's safety procedures. It usually is different depending on the company and the chemical itself. A CAS number is a unique set of numbers that identifies a chemical. And finally, a barcode is a method of representing data in a visual, machine-readable form. There are many types of barcodes, but the most common one is code 128, which is the one that I will be using because Excel can change a set of numbers into code 128 through an added font. Objectives for this project: allow chemicals to be scanned in by a barcode, allow for manual entry, pull STS files for a chemical, display item information upon lookup, be sortable by the above characteristics or keywords, download one or all associated SDS sheets, and require a user login. When starting this project, I received 10 Excel spreadsheets that were attributed to each room that the Chem Lab had documented. I then took the spreadsheets and created this ER diagram. Through the information that was given, I was able to separate the information into 4 entities: chemical info, user, item, and location. User I created outside of the information I was given, but we will need it for user login. For chemical info and location, the information that was provided was very repetitive, so I separated them into 2 different entities outside of item. For item, not all items in inventory are chemicals, so you don't necessarily need chemical info for every single item. For location, it is mandatory that the item has a location. However, many items can be stored in one location. Applications I used as well as the construction process. The first program I used was Excel. As you know, I originally received 10 spreadsheets that I reviewed the data through. I then learned how to create a barcode through using the RAM between function. A barcode usually consists of 12 numbers, so I made sure that the RAM between was anywhere between a 12-digit number. I was also able to take those numbers and give it the font of code 128. Next, I used XAMPP. XAMPP is a free cross-platform web server package that provides a local development environment for web developers. It sets up a local Apache web server with MySQL database, PHP, and Perl. This allows developers to test and debug websites locally before deploying them to a live server. The local host is called phpMyAdmin, and that is where I could use my database and also manipulate the data. This program I used was VS Code or Visual Studio Code. I picked it because I'm the most comfortable with their IDE. Through this software, I was able to use HTML, MySQLite, PHP, and CSS. PHP and HTML are both open source server-side scripting languages that are primarily designed for web development. PHP gives me access to my database, and HTML is more the structure of my website. MySQLite makes it so that I can access my database and manipulate the data through my website. And lastly, CSS is the design aspect of my code, so it will be like the more visual elements. Here's the demo for my project. We'll start off with a user login. If I try to log in, it's going to give me an error. And if we check the database itself, we can see that my username doesn't exist yet. So we will have to make an account. So here I'm going to sign up. And there's many error corrections I created, but one of them here is if the passwords don't match, I'll get that error. So let's make the passwords match. I'm going to set it to MassBay123. And then now you can see I've logged in. It even welcomes me, and if we check the database or we reload, there I am. And you can see that the password is not MassBay123, and that's because it's encrypted. Now if we go to barcode lookup and we look up a specific barcode, we can get all the information about the item. And there are many more options, but the last one I have is location ID. This is for when you're making a new item, you might not have the location ID just off the top of your head. So it will give you the location ID. Let's log out. And that is what I've done so far. Challenges I faced while doing this project. I really struggled to find a barcode reader that was for free. I was able to find an app for my phone, but then I found out that it only had 10 scans, and I used those up pretty quickly troubleshooting. Another thing I struggled with was working with PHP. I've never worked with that code before, and learning all the syntax took me quite some time. And finally, making the SDS sheets downloadable was particularly difficult for me, and it actually leads into my next section. Some future goals. With the time constraints of this project, I was actually not able to make the SDS files downloadable. I also was not able to pull up multiple files or items through a sort. And finally, one day when my project is fully complete, I hope to upload everything to GitHub so that it can be on a server and people can access my website through anywhere. Thank you so much for watching my video on my project. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.